The sun comes up on the biggest and one of the best rounds of AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Racing presented by Maxxis. We're going to see all year. It's the Parts Unlimited Unadilla GNCC, and all these riders are racing for an AMA National Championship. I'm your host, Jason Wygant, here on NBCSN. A lot of racing to get in, so we're going to rush to it. But we'll give you some math. Caleb Russell on the number one, looking to lock up his third straight GNCC title, but is riding with a torn ACL. He was injured at the International 6-Day Enduro during a break in this championship. We'll see how he does today. Rolling into the first turn we go, and welcome back to Grand National Cross Country. Josh Strang on the number two, Rockstar Husqvarna. The Australian was second in the series standings the first half of the year until hurting his shoulder and missing a couple of rounds, but he's 100% healthy and healed up today and leading. Got Chris Douglas there in that yellow Suzuki in second. Oh, and he collides. A guest rider in the series on the Beta, Oriol Menet, has taken over that second place spot, and everyone else jammed up in the trees, in fact. And that includes the number one right there, Caleb Russell, your series leader. Bad start today. Let's go back to the line for XC2. This is your young up-and-coming group, and they are wide open on these little 250s. Nick Davis, Sam Evans going for the hot cams hole shot. They're going to give it to Davis on the KR4 FAR Rocky Mountain Husqvarna, and Evans now taking it back from him. Now it's got Jason Thomas in the mix. Oh, and Davis into the trees, and complete carnage back here. Told you this class, they are just wide open, 2 strokes or 4 strokes, especially with some mud that we have here off the start. It's amazing how intense these kids are early, considering it's a 3-hour race. Strang in the pro class still up front, Thad Duvall right behind him. Then it's Ryan Sipes, bunch of Husqvarnas up there. Waiting on Russell, your series points leader, and he is way back. There's Douglas. I think that's Russell right there. We'll give you the story. He can clinch the championship today, but he has to finish around the top 5, and he's riding with a torn ACL, so it's not going to be easy. Strang, Sipes, Duvall making it an all Husqvarna show. Actually, we have 4 of them there. Tyler Medaglia, the Canadian motocrosser, 4th early. First non-Husky is at number 9 Honda, Chris Bach. Then the Yamaha brigade comes through. But we're on to the famous Unadilla Valley Sports Center motocross track, and Josh Strang going to lead them through the Sky Shot. It's a pretty big jump for cross-country bikes. The suspension not set up nearly like a motocrosser's would be. They've got to handle those little tree roots and rocks out in the woods instead of the big hits. Another Husqvarna in there now. That's Andrew DeLong. So 5 out of the top 6 are white bikes. Here is Strang, and then a good battle, Sipes with Duvall all over him, and Medaglia, the motocrosser. Great job. Then the Johnny Campbell Racing Factory Honda of Chris Bach, who did win a race earlier this year. He was the one that ended Caleb Russell's win streak, and then DeLong, that's the teammate on Rockstar Husky with the leader, Josh Strang. They are swapping it back and forth, still Strang out front. Sipes and Duvall, every time we see them, I mean, they are trying to make passes on each other in each corner for second. And Sipes coming off a huge and historic win at the International 6-Day Enduro. He won that thing overall. As we check back in with Russell, that's the race where Russell hurt himself. Sipes is the first ever American to win that 6-Day Enduro event. And he and Russell were actually battling for the overall lead at one point until Russell crashed and hurt himself. We don't know what Caleb Russell has today. Will he even be able to finish? Meanwhile, the Husqvarna riders take advantage of that. They are absolutely dominant so far. Here comes Bach, the first non-Husky at Unadilla. And can Caleb Russell turn it up? Or is he going to have to wait to clinch a number 1 plate? Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Through the woods of upstate New York, Unadilla Valley Sports Center, and what a battle we have. They're using every inch of this track. A 3-rider breakout right now. Josh Strang, Ryan Sipes, Thad Duvall. We're going to try to check back in with our series points leader and potentially our 3-time champ, Caleb Russell. He's chasing this group. 6 is Andrew DeLong going by there from Pennsylvania. And here's Russell riding with a torn ACL, bad knee. Heard it a couple weeks ago at an international event, and has not ridden the bike at all until right now. Rode it around in the pits a little bit, but no racing, no attempts to go fast. He has no idea what he can do. Look at the terrain out here at Unadilla. This is just so fun. Good dirt and a nice variety with some ups and downs. You've got some rocks, but it's pretty fast overall, and the riders usually like that kind of thing. The one problem you have at Unadilla is the crowd is so massive. As we see Russell looking pretty strong here, starting to pick up the pace. The lap traffic at Unadilla is atrocious. It's a little bit shorter than the average track. There's not quite as much room to make trail on here, and it's just so darn popular. Everyone wants to race at the famous Unadilla motocross track, so we had over 2,300 riders on hand this weekend between our ATVs and bikes. And a lot of amateurs on the track right now. Later in the race, these pro riders are going to catch them, and it is going to be crazy seeing them weave their way through the trees and the traffic at the same time. Great battle up front. You got Strang and Sipes, and I think they both have something to prove. Woo! And throwing it sideways is Sipes. He's feeling it right now and trying to go after Strang on the motocross track. Got that big boost of confidence from winning the 6-day Enduro. Does Sipes, who is only 2 years into an off-road career. He spent a decade as a pro motocross rider, and that little boost with that win over there could be the difference to him finally getting a GNCC win. As we go back to Duval in third, he's lost a little bit of ground. Duval has won here at Unadilla before. See if he can catch back up. Must have made a mistake because he was obviously right with Sipes the first lap and a half of this race. And they were all over each other. And a good battle back here. It looks like Bach has ripped it away from Unadilla, and you still have Andrew DeLong here as well. And then next up is Russell. Now the good news for Russell is second in the series standings. Wow, you see he's not even jumping that big jump due to the knee problem. But Grant Baylor of the NFAB and Pro Yamaha team, and we have not seen Baylor anywhere near the front. So Russell still with a great opportunity to wrap up the title today. Even though you can see he's kind of laboring through the motocross track. Now before the injury, Russell had won 8 of the first 9 races this year. So clearly not the same rider today, but that huge points gap he built up could make all the difference. That's Baylor's teammate behind him, the Australian Daniel Milner, so still no sign of Baylor. And next up, you have the Beta, Corey Buttrick, and number 3, Jordan Ashburn, another teammate of Baylor. So man, Baylor struggling there. He finally comes through. He's got a lot of work to do. He needs to get by Russell and then put a bunch of riders between him just to stave off the title celebration. Meanwhile, up front, still good racing. Strang, Sipes, and Duval has closed back in. He's bridged the gap to the lead duo, so the fight resumes. Unadilla, whoa, hold on to it. Still fourth. We mentioned Sipes coming in here with a nice jolt of confidence from the ISDE win, but Strang, I think he wants to reestablish himself. He was better than everyone but Russell early in this series, and an injury has allowed other riders to move forward, gain confidence. I think he wants to show everybody that if Russell's hurt, he's going to be the one to take the victories, and so far today, he's led every inch of it. Ripping through the pro pits is Strang. Sipes and Duval right there. These guys are all sharks, and there's blood in the water. Caleb Russell is hurt. He's back in traffic. They all had the opportunity to take their first victories of the season. Which one of these 3 Husqvarna riders is going to get it? And by the way, boys, lap traffic is starting to become a factor. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. It's AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Racing. You put some arrows on trees in the woods and tell the riders go follow them and do laps for 3 hours. It's Chris Bach here in fourth, trying to keep pace with a trio up front. Josh Strang, Ryan Sipes, Thad Duval, who have put on a phenomenal battle. He's got Andrew DeLong chasing him. That's 5th place. A couple of lap riders. A lot of lap riders. That's Unadilla coming through next on that white bike with the black gear. Still haven't seen Caleb Russell. There he is. 7th place right now for Russell. But that would still be enough to win the title, only because Baylor is still struggling back there. Battle up front, top of the hill. Oh, and Duval has taken the lead from Strang on this rocky climb. Sipes still right there in 3rd. Bach makes it to the top. Then DeLong. And the spectators in GNCC racing always know where to go. They watch the exciting parts of this track. Russell's still moving forward, getting a little closer actually to the riders in front of him now. Looks like Strang on the number 2 has retaken the lead from Duval. So a brief moment, Strang not leading this one. He got the whole shot, led all the way around. There's Duval on the inside with the yellow gear, 2nd, and then the black gear is Sipes as they weave through the traffic, and it is going to be so much worse as this race goes on. Sipes trying to gain entrance onto the motocross track, but he's got riders in front of him everywhere. Cannot do the big sky shot jump. Duval can though, and so can Sipes, so it's going to allow them to close back up. And this is what I'm talking about at Unadilla. We run about 9 miles here. Some tracks are 10, 11, 12 miles in length, so a little bit less mileage. So you've got more riders on a smaller track. That's just part of the game in GNCC. You've got to be able to handle the traffic. And Strang, the 2010 GNCC champ, he's won plenty of races. He knows how to do it. And that's one of the things that Sipes here in 3rd has had to learn coming over from motocross. Very hard to pass lap riders on a track this narrow at spots. Don't count Bach here in red out of it, getting up there on the podium. He's been riding well. And this is all lap traffic. Finally, DeLong just snuck through there in 5th place. Hey, there's Milner, the Australian, and there's Grant Baylor. They're both ahead of Russell, so at least Baylor has gotten around Russell. This is still not going to be enough to prevent Russell from winning the title, but Baylor has good speed. Let's see how far forward he could go as this chase for the win continues. These 3 putting on a show today. Strang, Sipes, Duval, and Chris Bach here in red, trying to close back in on that Johnny Campbell Racing Honda. Honda putting a lot of effort into the Grand National Cross Country program this year, and good to see a nice ride there out of DeLong. Hurt himself at the first race of the year, broke his collarbone. He's in comeback mode. Same thing for Strang, who hurt his shoulder. He looks fit, strong, ready in the Rockstar Husqvarna pits for fuel. Fresh goggles, back out. And I wasn't able to keep track. No, I didn't see Sipes pit because apparently he did not. He's into the lead. So the Rockstar Air Group Husqvarna rider, this is his chance. A lot of people feel a race win could be on the way for Sipes. Is today the day? Duval 2nd. Josh Strang now off the pit cycle to see if he can get back to the front. GNCC Racing is brought to you by Amsoil and by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Well, this didn't take long. Josh Strang had lost the lead at the beginning of this lap. He pitted when the riders in 2nd and 3rd did not, but he has eaten them back up and gotten around Ryan Sipes, who is 2nd, still throwing it sideways over that jump. Thad Duval doing the same. They've been pushed from 1st and 2nd back to 2nd and 3rd. So Strang really trying to show who's boss out here today. And I'd have to imagine that Sipes and Duval are going to have to pit at the end of this lap, so they might lose even more ground. They're clearly working together, though. They have been not much further apart than what you see right there for the majority of this race. Now, the real challenge will be if Strang can just keep that pace going. He caught them, he passed them. But pulling away is a little bit tougher. Those guys are working together. He's kind of on his own, and he's going to be the first rider to tag the lap riders now. White flag is out for Strang, and I'm telling you, he has found another gear late in this race. He has got the hammer down. Good run for Sipes in 2nd, but I know he wants to win one of these, and it's looking a little bit bleaker down the stretch. Don't count out Duval, though. he, like Sipes, has that extra gear. How about it? Caleb Russell in 4th. Where did that come from? We had him as far back as 8th the last time we had seen him, as Strang negotiates the big rocky climb for the last time today. I expect a charge out of Duval. Here's Sipes in 2nd. Duval coming through, finding a different line. And this is what Thad does on the last lap when it's all about just throwing caution to the wind. Well, that's where Thad Duval does his best work. And you can see Sipes is hustling. He knows that Duval's coming. Duval on the KR4, Rocky Mountain ATV MC, FAR Husky. 3 different Husqvarna teams. They work together. They will share information to a degree. But 3 different operations deep down. And it's pretty interesting to see them working out about the same on the track. Bad line there for Duval. Losing a little ground to Sipes again. And how about Caleb Russell? Riding with the bad knee. You can see he's put Andrew DeLong behind him. There's DeLong. And this should be enough for Russell to wrap up the title for the 3rd straight year. And Josh Strang left to wonder what might have been. He was 2nd in the series, had not been able to beat Russell at any of the races. But you always say if you're 2nd, you're 1 mistake away from being in position to win the title. Well, he got that mistake from Russell. Russell now riding injured. Strang can't take advantage because he got hurt as well. Missed some races at midseason, and he's way back in the point standings. Josh Strang now just going out to try to win races. These guys get paid pretty good money on the win bonus scale, so he wants to win regardless of where he is in points. Sipes in 2nd, leaping onto the motocross track. He looks frisky for about 2 hours and 40 minutes into this race. Not letting Duval close in at all. I think the fitness part has also been a big piece of the learning curve for Sipes. Not that he wasn't fit or didn't know how to train, but it's just a different type of energy management in a 3-hour off-road race as opposed to a 30-minute motocross moto. The intensity here is high, but not quite as high as moto. And I've heard people say Sipes actually even had to figure out what to eat on race day to keep fuel in his body for 3 hours without a break. No breaks now because Duval is still there in 3rd trying to get him. This is what it's all about. They've got to be exhausted at this point. They are going to the wall to get 2nd, to beat each other. Just competitors, and that's what's driving it right now. And Caleb Russell, he's a competitor of the highest order. He's got to be hurt right now, riding with a torn ACL. And just trying to get it to the finish line, and that's the danger of a 3-hour race like this. If you ride hard for 2 hours and then you can't go anymore, you're still not going to get any points. You don't get anything just because you made it 2/3 of the way. And Strang actually tried racing a couple earlier this year with a bad shoulder. Couldn't make it to the end after running up front early. Andrew DeLong clinging to the champ's back fender. Would like to get 4th. Strang's looking around, wondering what happened to everybody. For 2/3 of this race, Duval and Sipes giving him a challenge, but Strang, the veteran from Australia, able to pull away down the stretch. Like I said, he's won plenty of these before, and he's a former GNCC champ. He knows where the races are won. It's after that final stop for gas. He had something extra that no one else could answer, and Josh Strang is going to take his first win of 2015. And look at the gap he has here in the end. This is not indicative of the way most of the day went. These guys were battling hard. Wait a minute, we see Duval popping up. Persistence paying off. He was on Sipes the entire last lap. And in the final mile, he takes 2nd place away. Nicely done for Bad Thad. And Sipes so close. Had a chance for the win, had a chance for 2nd. Denied. He'll still finish up on the podium in 3rd. Going to be happy about that, but you know he wants more. And the coronation ride. Caleb Russell. He's got to be hurt. Maybe in some pain, but it's going to feel good as soon as it's over because his 4th place finish is going to be more than enough for the FMF KTM factory man, who's now based in North Carolina, originally out of Ohio, is going to take the Grand National Cross Country Championship for the 3rd straight year. Here are your Rocky Mountain ATV MC results. DeLong, good ride, best of the year I'd say for him, finishing 5th ahead of Bach. Baylor not what he wanted, 7th. Medaglia, Ashburn, and Corey Buttrick. Good to see Corey B back in the races. He finishes 10th. Here's your AMSOIL race recap. Josh Strang out front early. You got Duval and Sipes, 2nd and 3rd, and these guys waged war for 2 of today's 3 hours, back and forth. And in fact, when Strang pitted early, allowed the other 2 to get in front of him, but man, he had fire in his eyes and quickly came back, got back into the lead, and pulled away from there. Strang has his first win of the year. A little bit further back, Russell riding hurt. That didn't deter him. 4th place is enough. He's GNCC champion, the best in the game right now. For everyone at Racer TV, I'm Jason Wygant. Congratulations to Caleb Russell.